Welcome to the Cryptosphere. This is Cryptogenic coming at you. Today is 2/22/22 at 2:22 p.m. here in Northern California. Welcome to the channel. So glad you stopped by to take a listen. I got a huge announcement to make today, and the announcement is this. Get your dry powder ready because opportunities of a lifetime are getting ready to present themselves in a number of different crypto charts. But I'm looking at some of my favorites today. Now, before I turn to the charts and take a look at what I'm seeing and levels that I think we're going to come down to, I'm going to tell you a story. January 1st, 2021, a little over a year ago, I'd been living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse in the Bay Area here with my wife and my daughter. 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 3-bedroom, 2.5 baths. We'd been living there for about 2 years. And January 1st, 2021, I was in prayer one morning, and I felt like the Lord gave me one word, just a single word. And the word was space. And I interpreted that to mean that God was going to give my family a bigger house that year, 2021. So I just kind of kept that to myself, prayed about it. A couple months later, end of February, right around this time last year, my wife comes home from a prayer walk. I had not told her what I felt like I heard God say. She comes in from a prayer walk, and she looks at me and says, "Don't freak out." I said, "All right." She said, "But I think God just told me that it's time for us to sell this house. Matter of fact, I feel an urgency about it. I feel like God is saying, sell it right now." So I said, "Well, that's nothing to freak out about because I believe God told me that he's going to give us a bigger house this year. So I think we're right on the same page." So we did. We put it on the market 2 weeks later. We spent 2 weeks getting the house ready, put it on the market. It sold within 2 days. And it was a seller's market, as you remember. We got more than $100,000 over our asking price. So that was pretty epic. Pretty excited, actually. Excuse me, to get $100,000 more than you asked for your house. That was happening a lot in California, especially in Northern California. The problem is that when we went to look for a house to buy, now we're dealing with the fact that every house is selling for at least $100,000 more than ask. As you're getting, upwards of $1 million. And so it was kind of a zero-sum game. As we're looking, we're realizing we can only afford something that is equivalent to what we just sold. So we decided to get a little 2-bedroom apartment. We signed like a 4-month lease and just thought, okay, let's spend, 3 or 4 months looking for a place, and this will give us a little bit of leeway. Well, we went to about 200 open houses. We looked at all of these houses, and nothing seemed to be what we were looking for until I found a half-acre property in the Oakland Hills that I just fell in love with. I was like, this is it. This is beautiful. This is amazing. It had a beautiful garden outside, and I just sat outside the day of the open house and just dreamed of my family living on this property. And it was just bliss. I was just in heaven. So I go home. I said, "Baby, I found the place." So she comes up and looks at it. She's like, this is nice. I mean, she wasn't sold on it, but I was like, "Baby, this is the place." And I showed her my plan. I'm like, "This is what I'm going to do with the property." So we put an offer on the property. Our bid was $300,000 over ask. We thought it was a competitive offer. We were outbid by $400,000. I mean, the place went for $700,000 over ask. So after that, I just thought, you know what? I'm just getting greedy. Let me just calm down. And so I just said, "God, I don't need a half acre. I'll take a quarter acre. I'll take 5,000 square feet. Shoot, I'll take another townhouse. I'll take another condo. Just give us a place." And a couple more months went by. And for those of you that don't know, I am the pastor of a church in the Bay Area called Lineage Church. It's in the city of El Cerrito. You can check out our website right here. But I was preaching one Sunday morning. This is last November, just a few months ago. And the message, the word was real simple. What is possible in your life right now is 2 levels beyond what you think is possible. That we're constantly thinking that this is possible when this is possible. That when God said all things are possible to him who believes, it means that what we believe is possible limits what is actually possible. And that if God could just get us to believe at a higher level, we could experience a higher level of possibility. So after the service was over, my wife and I get in the car. She looks at me. She says, "Baby, that word was for us." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, we're going to find our house right now. Now, at that time, I had begun to believe, you know what? We're not going to be able to buy the house that we're looking for with more space until the crypto market does what it's supposed to do. So any minute, I'm expecting the crypto market's going to explode. We're going to see stuff make multiple thousands of percentage points, and then we're going to pull massive profits out of the market, and then we're going to be able to buy a multi-acre home with the proceeds. But the market is not moving, and so I'm like, I'm thinking inside, maybe we should just sign a 1-year lease on this little apartment we're living in, give the crypto market the time that it needs to get to where it needs to get to. But my wife says, no, we don't have to wait for the crypto market. God is saying that he's going to give us our house right now. I said, oh, okay, that sounds awesome. And then she goes, "Baby, take me to this city," and she names the city. And we go to this place, and it's about a 4-acre property. And we didn't like it at all. It was big, but the house was not in good shape. But my wife says, "There's another place next door. We're coming back tomorrow." We called our agent, and we got a walkthrough of this place the next day. We got a tour. And we get there, and as we're walking through, my wife and I are smiling bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the place. And I look at my wife, and she looks at me, and she goes, "This is the place." And then she gives me my marching order. She goes, "Make a way. You figure out how to make this work. Make it happen." And then she goes and gets in the car. And so, I mean, that's how my wife operates. When she sees it, she's like, "Baby, you figure out how to do it." Okay? So I'm looking at the price, and I'm thinking, it's going to go for $1 million over ask. It's going to go for $800,000 over ask. But then I start looking at the situation, and this is the point I'm getting to make a short story long. The way the home had been positioned, this is a 2,700 square foot home with a detached 1,800 square foot warehouse, like a big empty warehouse on a 3.14 acre property. We ended up getting it for $50,000 over ask. Number one, it's unheard of in Northern California to find a multi-acre property. But number two, it's unheard of in this particular market to obtain said property at $50,000 over ask. And, you know, the strategy, we all know that the strategy is the ask is always undervalue. If it's worth 1.5, they'll put it on the market for 1.3. But they don't even entertain offers under 1.6, something like that. The way the house was positioned on the market, and, you know, for us to get it at that rate, there were reasons. And the reasons were not because the house was dilapidated or that it was sliding off the foundation or that there was some major problem with the property. There was nothing like that. We kept walking around it going, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Our agent and us, we scoured the reports. We found nothing wrong with it. It was because of the way it had been positioned on the market. It had been on the market for more than 40 days. There had been multiple waves of showings, and there had been a couple of contracts that had fallen through. And there's just a couple of things about this particular home. It's off the grid. And off the grid living is a little different. We've got solar on the roof. We've got a septic tank. We've got a well. We've got a propane tank, it's a little different. It's different, and there were certain components that made it very difficult, and it fell out of contract a couple times. And so because the house kept falling out of contract and it had been on the market for so long, they basically were stuck with their asking price. And by the time we came around, we were basically the only bid. And so now we're living in this beautiful home in a beautiful location. The views are panoramic, but we got in at an unreal price. Here's the point that I'm making. Right now, if you ask a real estate agent, good time to buy or good time to sell, the agent will say, great time to sell, not such a good time to buy. But that's a relative statement. There's value in any market, meaning even in a seller's market, there's great buying opportunities. And even in a buyer's market, there are selling opportunities. You simply have to have the faith and the patience both to wait and to watch. You got to be watching and you've got to be waiting. And if you're watching, which means you're not going to watch unless you're believing that there's opportunity here in this market. And if you're not watching, then your waiting is in vain, because what are you waiting for? You're just waiting for something to happen, something to turn around. You've got to, your watching is what informs your waiting and gives purpose and significance to your waiting. Now, why did I say this? Because we're in the middle of a pullback. There's red on the crypto charts, and it's about to get redder. I really think it's about to get redder, and let me show you why. Jumping over to this Bitcoin chart. As I've been saying for the last 3 to 4 weeks, the move up was not sustainable. We were going to get rejected. I said that. We got rejected. And we've come down. We've seen decreasing volume in every candle over the last 5 weeks. And once again, the current candle is showing less volume than the previous candles. Of course, we still got 5 days and 2 hours left to turn that around. But for all intents and purposes, the bearish move continues. What we're seeing is decreasing volume. Now, we're not seeing even the kind of bearish volume that's going to tank it down to 20,000 or 15,000. What we're seeing is the market is basically moving sideways. But what I'm seeing is that the RSI is probably going to need to come down and retest this line here. And what that looks like to me is that we're looking at least an 11% dip. I believe that before this candle closes, we're going to come down and retouch this line here. And that is my sweet spot for Bitcoin, 33,673. It can potentially come all the way down here to 28,000, but I don't think so. And so typically when I see a range like this, I like to put a line right in the middle of the range and say this is kind of the sweet spot. But I don't think we're going to go beneath this trend line. I think the trend line is going to hold, and that means we're looking at an 11% drop for Bitcoin, perhaps before this week is over. Maybe it correlates with what's going on in Ukraine, whether it's on the news of something Putin does or something Biden does. I don't know. All I know is the chart is telling me that this pullback's not over, that we're going to see one more capitulation event, and then the market's going to turn around and there's going to be a sustained movement upward because all of the resistance will have been removed and absorbed. But I think we're coming back down to test 33,000. Now, what that will look like for some of these other assets, for THETA token, for instance, that should look like a revisitation of this line here at $2.28. Back up the dump truck. What that should look like for TFUEL is a revisitation of this line here at 11 cents, and best case scenario, 12.25 cents. But I think we could come back down and touch this level here at 11.5 cents. Back up the dump truck. On the Bitcoin Cash chart, that could take us all the way down to $207.27. We tend to see a bigger reaction on the Bitcoin Cash chart than we see on these other charts. On the XRP chart, this should take us down to revisit this trend line here at about 55 cents. And we're seeing the RSI confirming this as we got rejected at this trend line here, this line of resistance. We probably should come back down to revisit this line before we break out bullish and move up. For Digibyte, I know a lot of people are asking about Digibyte. When's Digibyte going to pop? I think we're going to see 1.5 cents revisitation. Very possible. We come back and touch this trend line here at 1.5 cents, and then the breakout begins. All of these on the weekly charts are getting dangerously low in the RSI, coming down to the oversold situation. And when you see oversold on the weekly, it's got to recover. There's almost no place for it to go but up. If we come down and touch this line here, which is basically revisiting the historic low in the RSI for DGB, we're gonna bounce, and that's going to begin a sustained. We could see another one of these moves. Okay. And then one of my patrons asked me about AVAX. What I see for AVAX is between $49 and $54. So, breaking bearish out of this trend, it's almost textbook. We came down almost a textbook amount. And so if we come back down and revisit this line, it'll be about $53. And if we come all the way down here to the potential, it's about $50. So this is what I see happening in these charts. Once again, I could be wrong. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I simply am presenting this to you as a data point so that you can take this data that I'm giving you, process it through your adult brain, and make your own adult decision. But I'm backing up the trucks. I'm getting my dry powder ready because I see these as opportunities of a lifetime. I mean, because when you go back to this Bitcoin chart and you pull back, right? Like, we always look at this and go, man, I wish I could have bought right there. Or even better. Even better. Man, I wish I could have bought right there. Or I wish I could have bought right there. Right? Like, we always think that. But when the pullback comes, all we want it to do is turn around and go bullish again. And I actually want it to finish this pullback. It's for the best, because what happens when you finish these pullbacks, when you finish it, when it actually capitulates the way it's supposed to, the confidence comes back into the market because the resistance is removed, the floating supply is absorbed, and now the sustained move upward can happen. And so, this move way over here in 2020 was scary as all get out. But look what happened afterwards. There was a sustained march upward afterwards because all of the resistance was removed. This is what I'm believing is getting ready to happen here on the Bitcoin chart and for the crypto market as a whole. And so, we've been waiting for so many of these assets to pop for so long. I think it's time. But first, the final shakeout, the final breakdown. These could go lower than we think. And of course, they might not break down at all. But I don't think so. I think we're going to see these breakdowns. I think these capitulation levels are going to happen. But when they do happen, I see it as an opportunity of a lifetime, which must be grasped within the lifetime of the opportunity. I'm not going to miss the opportunity because I'm freaking out. This is a moment. And we'll look back on this moment and go, man, remember when TFUEL was like 15 cents? Wasn't that crazy? And other crypto OGs will be like, oh yeah, Sonny, I remember when I bought my TFUEL for a penny. A crypto grandpa is like 30 years old. Yeah, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you today. So Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell so you get notified when I put out more content. Do me a favor and leave me a comment, whether good or bad. Tell me what you think. Appreciate it either way. But at any rate, make it your aim to sleep in peace every night, wake in joy every morning, walk in love every day. This is Cryptogenic, signing out.